The last survivor. The galaxy had long been ruled by powerful advanced alien species, each one maintaining their dominance through strength, manipulation, and deceit. Human beings, however, had always been an anomaly, a young species, relatively insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Earth was a distant, backward planet on the edge of galactic space, a place of little consequence to the established powers. That was, until the Soroth came, a ruthless alien race from the fringes of known space. The Soroth were known for their brutality and their relentless desire for conquest. They had wiped out countless civilizations in their wake, and now they turned their sights on the human colonies of Epsilon 8, a quiet farming planet on the very edge of the galaxy. The Soroth descended without warning, unleashing their full might on the defenseless colony. Their fleets filled the skies, and within hours, every city was reduced to rubble. Human resistance was futile. The Soroth were too powerful, too relentless. But there was one survivor. Michael Calloway had been part of the Epsilon 8 Defense Force, a former Special Forces operative who had seen the horrors of war in the past. But nothing could have prepared him for the slaughter he witnessed as the Soroth invaded his home. His family, his friends, his comrades, everyone was dead. The planet burned, and Michael watched as the Soroth wiped out everything he had ever known. For a moment he considered giving up. He had nothing left. But as the last of the human resistance fell, something inside him snapped. He wasn't going to die quietly. He wasn't going to let them win. He would make them pay. Michael escaped the chaos in a stolen fighter ship, heading into the vast unknown of space, alone and wounded. He had no home, no allies, no resources. But he had one thing the Soroth didn't account for: a burning desire for revenge and the relentless determination to see it through. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was a weapon, a human with nothing to lose. The Alien Council's dilemma. The Alien Council had existed for millennia, a conglomerate of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Their role was simple: to maintain peace, to mediate conflicts, and to ensure that no one species ever rose to challenge their collective authority. Each race brought its own strengths to the table, from advanced technology to unyielding military power, and for centuries they had ruled the galaxy with impunity. But as the Soroth invasion of Epsilon 8 came to light, something unexpected happened. The Council learned of Michael Calloway, the human survivor, and the rumors of his unrelenting pursuit of vengeance. At first, they dismissed it as a mere human obsession. After all, what could one human do against the combined forces of the galaxy's mightiest races? But as Michael's campaign of destruction continued, the Council realized that the rumors were true. He was no longer just a survivor. He had become something far more dangerous. He had become a symbol of the very thing the Council feared most: a human with nothing to lose. The Soroth were the first to warn the Council. Michael had decimated one of their supply fleets, annihilating their ships with precision strikes. Entire battalions of soldiers had fallen to his attacks, and his presence was becoming a growing threat. The Council had dealt with many rebellions in the past, but none like this. The fear Michael instilled in his enemies was palpable. And the Council, despite their immense power, knew they couldn't let this continue. They convened in secret, their highest-ranking members gathering to discuss the growing threat. The fear was clear in their eyes. For the first time in millennia, they found themselves facing a challenge they couldn't easily crush. Michael Calloway was a problem that had to be dealt with, and quickly. The hunter becomes the hunted. As the word of Michael's actions spread across the galaxy, he quickly became a legend, an unstoppable force that no one could ignore. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol of humanity's wrath, a force of nature that no alien race dared challenge. Michael didn't care about the politics of the galaxy. He didn't care about alliances or treaties. He cared only about one thing: revenge, and he was willing to go to any lengths to achieve it. His attacks on the Soroth grew more daring, more destructive. He struck at their supply lines, sabotaged their military operations, and left a trail of wreckage in his wake. The Sroth were reeling from the blows he dealt them, but the more they hunted him, the more he fought back. It became clear that Michael was no ordinary human. He had learned to fight with a cold, calculated precision, using the very tactics that had been used against him to break his enemies. The Sroth, desperate to stop him, began sending their elite warriors after him, specialized soldiers trained to deal with high-value targets like Michael. But no matter how many times they sent their best, Michael always escaped, always struck back harder. He was always one step ahead, and his legend grew with each victory. But it wasn't just the Sroth who began to fear him. The Alien Council, watching from the shadows, knew they had no choice but to act. The more Michael accomplished, the greater the threat he became. And now they realized they had no choice but to confront him directly. The betrayal, it was in the dark alleys of the galaxy's underworld that Michael met Lyra Valcor, a former strategist for the Galactic Council who had turned rogue. Disillusioned with the Council's endless manipulation and corruption, Lyra had left her prestigious position and gone underground, offering her knowledge and skills to those who fought for freedom. Lyra became Michael's ally, providing him with vital information about the inner workings of the Council. She helped him evade their traps, infiltrate their strongholds, and gather the resources he needed to continue his war. She warned him of the factions within the Council that sought to eliminate humanity, of the powerful enemies he would have to face. But Lyra's motivations were not as clear-cut as they seemed. While she claimed to be helping Michael in his quest for vengeance, there was something she wasn't telling him. As they continued their mission, Michael began to notice subtle inconsistencies in her behavior, small things that didn't add up. Her motivations were murky, and Michael couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. The truth came crashing down one fateful night. Michael had followed a lead to a Council-controlled planet, a stronghold that held the secrets to the galaxy's most powerful weapons. As he and Lyra infiltrated the facility, he discovered the terrible truth. Lyra had been working with the Council all along. She had been feeding him false information, leading him into a trap. Her role had been to lure Michael into the heart of the Council's power so they could deal with him once and for all. The betrayal stung like a blade to the heart. Michael had trusted her, relied on her, but now he had nothing. His rage erupted in a storm of violence as he turned against her, confronting Lyra in a brutal showdown. But even as they fought, Michael knew one thing: the Council had underestimated him, and now they would pay for their mistake. The final countdown with Lyra's betrayal still fresh in his mind. Michael had only one goal: to bring the Council to its knees. He knew where they would be, their hidden citadel, deep within the heart of the galaxy. It was here that the final battle would take place. Michael gathered his forces, what little was left of his ragtag band of allies, and prepared for the assault. The citadel was a fortress, heavily guarded by the Council's most elite forces. But Michael was no longer just a man. He was a force of nature, a whirlwind of destruction that no one could stop. The battle was fierce. The citadel's halls echoed with the sounds of laser fire and explosions as Michael and his team fought their way through wave after wave of enemy soldiers. Every step forward was hard-won, but Michael pressed on, his eyes locked on the ultimate prize, the leaders of the Alien Council. The final confrontation took place in the heart of the Citadel. Michael stood before the Council's leaders, creatures of unimaginable power, beings who had ruled the galaxy for centuries. They offered him peace, a chance to join them, to rule beside them. But Michael knew that there could be no peace with them. The galaxy would never be free while they were in power. With one last decisive strike, Michael tore through the Council's leadership. The galaxy's ruling powers crumbled, and the very foundation of their empire began to crack. A new beginning with the fall of the Council. The galaxy stood on the precipice of a new era. Michael Calloway, the lone survivor of Epsilon 8, had done what no one thought possible. He had defeated the most powerful forces in the galaxy and brought down the empire that had ruled for millennia. But with this victory came a new question. What would Michael do now? The galaxy was free from the Council's grasp, But the future was uncertain. Michael had no illusions about the chaos that would follow. But for the first time, humanity had a chance to shape its own destiny. As Michael stood in the ruins of the Citadel, looking out over the galaxy he had just saved, he knew one thing for sure. Humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. The galaxy had seen the power of a human with nothing to lose, and they would never forget it.